Thank you for joining us for our 2022 Community Voices Poet Speak program series. Today we are featuring poet Michal MJ Jones. My name is Nia McAllister and I'm the Public Programs Manager at the Museum of the African Diaspora in San Francisco. As we begin, I want to acknowledge the spaces that we're occupying. Though we're gathering virtually, we recognize that non-native people to this land are descendant from settler occupiers or descendants of those forcibly brought to this continent. Moad occupies the unceded land of the Ramaytush Ohlone people. We pay our respects to the Ohlone people and their elders, both past and present, who've stewarded this land throughout the generations. We encourage all to learn more about the native lands that you occupy by visiting nativeland.ca, and we'll share that resource in the chat as well. Community Voices Poet Speak is an annual series that features local Bay Area poets who share original work based on the current exhibitions at Moad. Today's program is the third in a 7-week series. So each Thursday at 5 p.m. we'll be featuring a different poet who will share their work and talk about the process of writing ekphrastic poetry, or poetry based on or about art. The exhibitions currently on view at Moad are Soul of Black Folks, art by Ghanaian painter Amako Boafo, and Thread for a Web Begun, works out of silk by Malawi-born, Johannesburg-based artist Billy Zengewa. As we adapt this program virtually for this month, we'll be sharing images from the exhibitions on screen as the poets share their poems and speak about their work. I encourage all of you to engage using the chat, share any comments, anything that stands out to you. And in the last portion of the program, we'll have time for a short Q&A. So start thinking of questions for MJ and be ready to share those. And I want to thank poets and writers as well for helping support this program series. Today, we are thrilled to be presenting poet Michal MJ Jones. MJ is a Pushcart Prize nominated poet and parent in Oakland, California. Their poems have appeared in Anomaly, Borderlands Texas Poetry Review, and TriQuarterly Review. They are the managing poetry editor at Foglifter Press, a journal for queer and trans writers, and have received fellowships from the Hurston, Wright Foundation, VONA Voices, and Kearny Street Workshop. They received their MFA in creative writing, poetry from Mills College, and their debut poetry collection, Hood Vacations, is forthcoming from Black Lawrence Press in 2023. Welcome, MJ.
Thank you so much, Nia, for that wonderful introduction. And every time I hear my bio read, I'm like, oh man, I have to live up to whatever is being said about me. So I'm gonna do my best to give y'all a reading this evening. So my name is MJ. I'm just over the bay from Moad, reading to you from Oakland, land of the Ohlone and Chochenyo peoples, among other folks. And so grateful to Nia, and also to Reina Leon, who invited me into this space as well, and to all the staff at Moad. So ekphrastic poetry, I actually was introduced to the practice of ekphrasis, which I feel like I always mispronounce, but being in conversation with art through Kearny Street Workshop, which is also listed in my bio, their interdisciplinary writers lab, which I highly recommend writers of color apply for. And my instructor, Harisa White, led us through a series of prompts that were connected to the Asian Art Museum, and we sort of sat there and pondered. So I was really excited for this opportunity. Unfortunately, I have not seen the exhibit in person, and it was a bit ironic. I actually walked up to Moad when it was like pouring rain a few weeks ago. I was like, it's time for me to go and like sit and write. And Nia came to the door and was like, we're closed today. We're trying to figure out the COVID situation. So that said, it was interesting figuring out how to do ekphrasis in a virtual setting and just sort of looking at the images on my computer or on my phone. And I figured out how to hook them up to the TV so I could see them larger. And the reason that I was particularly gravitated towards the Soul of Black Folk exhibit here I really was drawn to the portraiture, the up close nature that the painter has here, and sort of the constellation of individuals. This is a great image present. So, but I was just going off of the images that Nia sent me on my own computer screen, and these were the ones that stood out to me. And one of the things that I was thinking about, and I think that made it a unique experience to do so virtually, was I'm looking at these images, but then also looking in my living room or what's happening outside of my window. And so what I ended up writing was directly into my own environment, in conversation with these figures, who the painter knows, but I don't know what their story is, right? So, that became a way to either write in persona, like hearing what these folks might say to me. And I would recommend on the MOAD website reading through the description of Souls of Black Folks Museum and one of the exhibit. And lastly, I'll just say the one thing that I was thinking about and that I think also aligns with the artist's intention was all of the stories that are held in those individual portraits. And I was thinking about the artist's broad strokes with the paintbrush and how those represented individual threads of story or being. And I think that Black folks, especially Black folks with darker skin who are mostly pictured and painted here, are often the victim of a single story or a stereotype and are sort of cast in a gaze immediately. And so some of the poems I'm wanting to like complicate either my single stories that I have in my head about people and my own environment, and yada yada. Anyway, y'all just want to hear the poems, I know, so I'm gonna get to that. But that was my mindset as I was writing these pieces and gathering some poems for this. So thank you again to Nia and Moad. And I will begin. Oh, actually, totally forgot an important thing that I just mentioned to Nia, which was that I'm a very musical person as well. I play guitar and sort of grew up in a musical setting. And so often when I write, I need to hear something or a rhythm, and you'll probably hear that in the way that my poems come out. And I think with this exhibit in particular, I saw music as soon as I saw the figures, or when I started thinking about maybe what's the story here, music came. So I might make reference to music. I also sort of built this playlist that you can refer back to that paired with what I was writing. So that is it. Now I can go into the poems. Poem 1. This morning has a strange feel to it and a metallic taste. Someone has been screaming at the top of his lungs all through the night, a crested anger echoing the block. I fell asleep to his drowned out diatribe against some invisible saints, muffled by the sound of my air filter and white noise machine I hooked up to the Bluetooth speaker. I shut him out so that I could sleep. And by the look of it this morning, when his hollers woke me at 6:30 a.m., he did not sleep. The block's hair bristles, stands at attention before the BART train's rail drowns him out again, and then red and blue flashes blend purple. When my first car, the one that carried my first child home from the hospital, was stolen, my second hope was for someone to at least make a home out of it. But my first hope was to pummel the thief with my bare hands for plucking my precious ruby. My precious automobile. That was 3 years ago, on a block 4 blocks away from this here block where cars are left on cinder blocks. I watched from my window as drowned out people saw parts off of other people's precious automobiles, and I do nothing. When the default options may end in a river of blood, I do nothing. Poem 2. Sometimes I fall asleep to the sweet, sweet sound of catalytic converters being sawed off. Sometimes I fall asleep watching the numbers on my pulse ox rise and fall, 96, 97, 98, 98. The number goes up the more deeply I inhale, so I balloon my belly. I imagine green, green trees, but the saw racket becomes unbearable, so I rise up, do a little dance with the curtains and stare out onto the block. I see him. His reflective vest has soaked up all the streetlight, all the moonlight. He floats phosphorescent against the black ocean night, and he is beautiful then, sprinting like a gazelle out of a cop spotlight. I return to bed, raise the volume on the sound machine, now at war with the grating and shearing. I breathe, visualize green, green trees and car parts as beads threaded on a power line held by God's soft brown hands, and drift off. Poem 3, inspired by White Turtleneck, which is on the screen right now. The soundtrack to this was Stir It Up and We Can Get Down by A Tribe Called Quest. White Turtleneck. Before he stepped out of the house, before his sneak smacked the sidewalk, before he glided up the stairwell, before he trombone slid onto a Daly City train, before he threw a poem and a lyric up beside a brick wall, he knew he was somebody, damn right he was somebody. Before he held a blazing, then lilac sunset in the palm of his hands, before he both became and defied the night, before his debut onto this fog city backdrop, before he had rapped his grandmother's door with soft knuckles and awaited her welcome. He kissed her forehead and pulled the medicine vial from his back pocket. He poured up a golden teaspoon of the brown syrup. He tilted it to her quaking lips and she drank. He wrapped arms strong with song around her and planted one more forehead kiss. This was before he lifted his entire weight up onto the BART handlebars and suspended upside down in a God-kissed levitation. Before this, in the morning, he had seesawed his two little sisters clung to each arm as he turned and turned as a sprinkler or record does, pirouetting as a dancer does, as their laughs and scream echoed throughout the house. Before he held every kick and every snare and every bass inside his fluid, ecstatic, electric, shouting body on that train, he clad himself in the full moon. He robed his body with a lily. He wrapped himself in snow, call him icy. He sprouted dove wings out of his feet. He became a cloud. He danced onto tongues of white light. Before he rounded his shoulders and two-stepped out of the house, his mama stepped behind him as she does every morning to watch him bob down the hill out of view, mouthing the same daily prayer, "Return, my son, return." Can you put it on the next image, please? Thank you so much. Poem 4 from Umber Brown Belt, the image here. Soundtrack, Essence from WizKid and Thames and Busybody from Tony Allen. I insist upon myself, stare down the crab barrel, say, I know who I be, I know who I be. I insist upon myself. I know who I become towards my own. I grow toward my own son, my own true son. Stare down the crab barrel where a heart should be. Insist upon myself in blue flame. I insist upon myself, balm the scars. I know who I be, who I be, who I be, still, even in the cold wreckage, cut by a mirror's false shrapnel, rusted blood as evidence that I am here. My blood, my blood, my blood, in my blood. A soldier stares into their mirror unbroken, laughs a fuchsia love smoke, says, I know who I be, sucker, spirit joy plucker. You can't play me, for I know who I be. And what can you say when I am bathed in an insistence, a sheen power, my roots, my ground, my shield solid, steady, holding my tears in their soil. Poem 5, Hair Memories, inspired by all of the portraits. Soundtrack, Before I Let Go by Maze and Frankie Beverly, Soul Makosa by Manu Dibango. 1, Snaggies. Butterfly berets and beads below my scabbed knees. Mommy rakes my curls a hard grief. Calls them snaggies, them bunches that get caught up. The rat tail comb fails, won't do. She wields a beast with whiter teeth. Pulls my pony like it's elastic and yanks. I choke back yelps. She eases, smooths creases in my neck. Today it's braids, clean plaits, torn, woven, tied. 2, Ringlets. Let me become regal now, the most beautiful I have been. This has been promised. Miss Pamela tells me, relax, with a cool menthol lilt, tilts my neck to section woolen hair, pastes the thick magic salve which stings like rejection, or a clump of hot grits hop from pot to cheekbone, or peeled grapefruit and nails bit too low. You'll get used to it, baby, that flame. Soon my whole crown is snow white slick with it. I try not to squirm, scream, or shudder. Swear I heard the shit crackle. Out of the dryer, I'm all straight. Scalp all flakes, crusted blood, scarred, marred to its root. Usher Raymond croons through the wall-mounted speakers, let it burn, let it burn. Ouch. 3, Referee forces a black wrestler to cut off his locks. Repeat. Referee forces black wrestler to cut off his locks before taking the mat, or he would forfeit the match. If you were my son's referee, I'd mortar you down to fish food. Silenced rage, fever split open like Pandora's box with no hope of calming. Love only trumps hate when you got trumping power. So if you spider 1 centimeter of a finger towards my dome, my son's dome, my temple, my ancestors' ladder, my warmth, our breath, our life, our blood, watch these locks become black mambas. Watch you draw back a bleeding nub. Watch them constrict around your neck and squeeze the nothing from your hollow body. Don't touch my baby's head. But of course I speak hyperbole. What good would I be to my son from prison? You think I don't know how this mother had to smother that magma? Had to twist the neck of dish towels in her anger, had to paste linoleum and scream into her patchwork quilts. We all have had to bite back bile knowing damn well we'd feel better to let it spew and burn. 4, Inquiry. They always think it's innocuous, this question. Is that all your hair? Maybe it is innocuous, but it's only them that ask. I imagine my hair store-bought. Imagine that's likely what they want to hear from such an exchange. I stare at the inquirer and say nothing. He floods crawfish. The only time these locks wasn't mine was lovers grind and grip on all this mine. Pulling hard on this mine, I surrendered this hair all to her. Amen. 5, Pan-African Festival, Mosswood Park. Head wrap kudu here holds locks skyward and yawn, hair buzzed tight, nurtured lawns, fluorescent cyan and fuchsia sewn in against jet black tapestry. Faded sides, afros, high Vaseline sleek edges, peaked hair, tucked hedges, queen's coiffed, crinkled, crowned thinness, vining vertical, tree limbs bare, earth, salt, peppered, feathered, aged, weathered, charcoal, heather, silver, honey, brilliant crimson. All of it is good. All shimmer this electric sliding, paragliding, ocean, sea, royal. And it's all good, all of it. Amen, amen. Y'all still with me? Last one. A pandemic prayer. Praise be to solitude's silence. Praise be to steam's ascent through grates clenched teeth to outstretched knees that hop over. Praise be to corner store bodega stocking single roll toilet paper. Praise be to pure lungs. Praise be to love and its discovery under overturned and broken stone. Praise the butterfly wings and whistled winds which carry them. Praise be to my son's curl pattern and nap, 3 hours of sleep. Praise be to the loctician turned therapist, disintegrating worry with strong hands at my scalp. Praise be to the scalp and kitchen, the thick of it pulled. Praise be to sidewalk graffiti sprawling. Love is money. Praise be to fixed mortgages and rent control in the Bay Area. Praise be to bob and weave, wheelie pop and scraper bikes, blessing Lake Merritt with browns and tin sun rays. Praise the 5 paper white pelicans and synchronized syncopated swim. Amen to their squad goals. Praise be to the 18 bus in the blurring routes landscape. Praise be to the awning, its voluptuous curvature. Praise the teeth grazing teeth, scrape, scream, and shout the Lord's name in vain. Praise the tight tunnel collapse around fingertips. Praise be to the sideshow and skid marks tires burn and singe. Praise be to Oakland's breathing ghost. Praise be to the Sinaloa taco truck. Praise the shit talk and cut up with an earshot. Praise be to poets who know it and poets who don't. Praise be to ugly ducklings who stay that way and bless. Praise be to threaded brows, fluorescent hair, sundresses, and golden wing ear cuffs. Praise be to bodies and guitars after their shape, supple for strum. Praise be to skunks seeping out of every low parked car on this block. Praise be to the tents that are sandbagging the city streets and those within them and the stakes that hold them down. Praise be to the Black trans praise dancer, to electrified prayer hands. Praise the cities of refuge. Praise this sea of Black and brown worshipers whirring still air into a sandstorm. Praise be to the uncontrolled organist, to peach cobbler, to jump and shout and crying. Praise be to the shimmering wave of fans preparing themselves for flight. Praise be to unnamed spirit. Praise be to altar, to those not here, to the exiled. Praise the leaps and weeps of faith, the rocking in arms cradle and holler. Praise be to tilled soil. Praise be to grapevine, to jasmine. Praise be to indigos and violets, the color purple. Praise be to our skin and its basement organs, to bellies wax and wane. Praise be to the elemental. Praise be to the body and its stardust, the tears cleansing salt water. Praise be to remembrance and to release when memory grows too heavy. Praise be to harvest moon bath waters, the balm of a sweet mother's song. Praise be to incantation, to utterance. Praise be to the eternal, to the elemental. Praise be to diaspora, to calloused hands and hearts thumping on in defiance. Praise be to defiance. Praise be to hummingbird's flight. Thank you so much.
Wow, thank you so much for all of those poems. And as you said in the beginning, it was very, very musical, getting to hear the rhythm of your poetry. And I'm so glad that you shared that backstory about the soundtrack that inspired you in that process. So that was just a lovely way to accompany it. So many affirmations in the chat as well. So we have a few minutes. So I would love if anyone in the audience has any questions or responses for MJ that you want to share, please either put those in the chat, or if you want to raise your hand, I'll call on you and you can come off mute. Do we have any questions from the audience? I see Shah has their hand up. Hi, Shah.
Hey y'all, thank you so much for this reading, MJ. I really enjoyed it. I was wondering if you could say more about the process of like listening to music or writing this. Like, how did you choose the songs and what inspired you around that?
Yeah, good question, Shah. Good to see you. Thanks for being here. That's a good question. I feel like I just I have my old man to thank. He's not on the call, but he just like raised me with a really eclectic type relationship to music. So I listen to everything, and if you go in the playlist, that's evident. There's all types of music in there. I think for the image, the white turtleneck especially, I just saw it and heard A Tribe Called Quest. Like, that was my process. I was like, this is what that's conjuring for me. So and I have a book coming out next year called Hood Vacations, and most of those songs are set to music. So when I think of different experiences, music narrates pretty much every single one of them. And you know, sometimes it was interesting because usually I can't write to music with lyrics, but A Tribe Called Quest just wanted to be part of the poem. Whether that was evident in the poem itself, that was sort of the backdrop for it. So there's no real rhyme or reason to the process, just that I always have music on when I'm writing, pretty much.
Thank you.
That's wonderful. Do we have any other questions or feedback?
Well, I just like to say I've been enjoying your work for a few years now, and I remember meeting you at Get Lit.
Yes.
And so that was just, I said, wow, what a talent. So thank you. And that's what I had to say. And wow, what are some of your favorite, your influences is from, writers? Who do you really read or listen to a lot?
Yeah, good question. And good to see you. I remember you, of course, from nomadic spaces and elsewhere. So good to see you. Inspirations. Right now I'm thinking of Patricia Smith, the amazing poet. I'm thinking of Toni Morrison. Of course, right now I'm on my second manuscript, and it's a lot of persona and character voices. So the poet Patricia Smith, my mentor, Arisa White, who of course was in the Bay Area for a long time. And really just all of you. I've been coming to the open mics and the events and listening to you as well. Darius Simpson is amazing. Also
Yes.
in the Bay Area. Yeah, all of my fellow poets. And yeah, those are the ones that came to mind right now.
Well, thanks again.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for that question. And I guess just to close, I want to say, I know despite all the circumstances and the challenges of being able to see the art in person, I'm just so impressed by the poetry that you've written and just the rich experience you've been able to create by looking at the images along with the music. So I really appreciated all of that you shared today, and just the backstory behind it. It was absolutely wonderful.
Thanks y'all so much for having me. This is great. I will get to visit in person at some point when it's not pouring rain. but and maybe Omicron has calmed down a little bit. So
yeah, we would love that. So I want to thank you again for doing this reading, and thank you all for being in this audience. This is only the third part in a 7-week series, and so next Thursday, which is February 3rd at 5 p.m., we'll be featuring the poet Aquila M. Lewis Ross. So please do join us for that event. And then on February 24th, all of the poets who read in this series will be joining in for a group reading. So very excited to have everyone's perspectives and responses to the artwork in that group reading. So stay tuned for that. More information can be found at our website, which is moadsf.org. And as always, we love your participation and your support of the work that we do here at MOAD. So if you are able to, either join us as a member, or we do appreciate any financial support. You can make donations through our website, also by texting the number 56512 and typing MOAD SF. And we've shared that information in the chat as well. So again, thank you all for your engagement and your support of what we do here at MOAD. And thank you again, MJ, for this lovely, lovely poetry reading. Take care, everyone.
thank you all so much.